Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch the show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face as I watch.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi, I'm Doug.
Nice to meet you, I'm Natalie.
Hi, Natalie. Good to meet you.
Hey, Doug. Mike, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Come on back. This is the way. Okay.
All right, I just looked up Doug's website to see his credentials. He is a licensed mental health counselor in Washington State. That's good. He's a licensed clinician.
So what do you want to get out of our time today?
She set the appointment. Let's see what she wants to do.
So that's fine. I have been in that situation many times. Even 5 years into therapy, it's not unusual for a couple to sit down and for one person to be like, yeah, I don't want to talk. The other person, can they talk? Nothing wrong with that.
It's a hard transition for me,
Yeah.
and we dealing with some issues. I would like us have less arguments than we do, because it's hard for me already being here.
Okay.
So great start. She stated what she wants. She's lays the landscape. I'm having a hard time transitioning. It makes total sense. And we have conflict, and I don't want to conflict with them as much as we have. Now, let's see what Mike says.
How about for you, Mike?
I think we're lacking communication severely.
So it seems like you both agree that you need some help talking to each other and arguing less.
Fantastic. I have chills down my spine. It couldn't have started better. They both said that they're struggling with communication and conflict, and the therapist pointed that out. Sounds like you're on the same page, so he's already bringing them together. Let's see what happens.
What do you most want Mike to know about how you're doing inside right now?
Okay,
And you can look at him when you tell him.
More chills up my spine. I've been waiting for this moment for so long for these two to go to therapy, and Doug is really hitting it out of the park. This is great. What's the one thing you want to say to him? This is a perfect question to get the conversation going. And really, I don't know if he's just intuiting this or it's a common question that he asks in this situation, but this is really going for it. And I think this is the perfect question for this couple. And then as she starts to talk, he says, you could say it to him. I don't know if I would have done that because I wouldn't know how they could handle that amount of vulnerability with each other, but that's a great move too. Let's see what happens.
What do you really want to make sure that he gets that he hasn't gotten so far?
I think every person deserves respect. And when I ask little details, could you please be more sensitive for me and listen what is not okay for me?
Okay, so now we're getting into some sticky areas, which is, of course, is a good thing because they need to get into this. So for her, she's saying, I need him to respect me. Now, this is a tough job for Doug right now, especially in the first session, especially with the cameras. I can't imagine that this would be a comfortable situation for him. But this is a sticky situation because Doug, on one hand, wants to validate Natalie by saying, okay, it sounds like you feel disrespected and it sounds like you want respect. But at the same time, he has to bond with Mike as well. And if he completely agrees with Natalie's narrative, it could alienate Mike. And Mike is definitely coming across like he is more of the standoffish, more skeptical one in the room. And so Doug's primary job here is to try to make Mike feel comfortable. Once he can make Mike feel comfortable, Natalie is in it to win it for this session. Now, let's see if he can make Mike feel comfortable.
I kind of put all my stuff on hold to try to make you feel the most comfortable. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still struggling internally because I'm unhappy.
Wow. Great session so far. This is going fantastic. They didn't need much. They just needed a therapist to be in the room, and they're communicating in ways they haven't yet. This is fantastic.
So what just happened? You shared some big pain. And then I know a couple of things are going on for you that you're wanting to hear her pain, but also you're in pain too. Why are you here? Why are you putting forth this effort? This is a hard situation.
He puts huge effort, actually.
So tell him that directly.
I told him.
So again, usually at this stage, this is my style. I don't have people talk directly to each other, particularly in the beginning of the first session, because there's a lot of uncomfortableness in the room. There's a lot of tension. And also, I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to tolerate that amount of vulnerability to the other person, that amount of trust. Whereas I do know that I know how to listen and I know how to validate people. So usually I have them talk to me first, and then over time I have them talk to each other. But, other therapists will do things differently. There's nothing wrong with it. Of course, it's a good idea. It might just be opening up too much too quick. But let's see what they do.
Did any of that sink in?
I don't feel like the question was answered.
What would you want to hear?
Why did you come here?
This is great. They're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. He is saying, and kudos to Mike for participating, and kudos to Doug for holding that space. So let's see what Natalie says here. So now, if I was Doug, and I knew the situation, which he doesn't, of course, maybe Doug watched the show. Probably not. But if I were in this situation, I'd be like, okay, Mike, I hear the question. Let me ask you a little bit about what that question means. Before Natalie answers, I want to make sure that the full question is being asked here. And I'm guessing what Mike is saying deep down is, I'm worried that you are here for not to be with me. I'm worried that you're here just because you want to come to the United States. And I'm not sure if you actually love me or not. And I want you to love me, but I don't know if you love me. And I think that's what he's really asking. But let's re-listen to the question you did ask.
I don't feel like the question was answered.
What would you want to hear?
Why did you come here?
Why we're together? We fall in love with each other.
Are we still in love?
This is kind of a no-win situation like it was last season. To ask her, do you love me? That's not going to go well, because for her, and for many people who actually comment below or email into me, they'll talk about how in her part of the world, typically when you say you love someone, that means that you're saying, I'm committing for the rest of my life with you. And that for the American version of the word love, we use the word love in a very loose way. It's not a wrong way, it's just a different way of using that word. And of course, in their neck of the woods, they don't use the word love. They have a translation. So their translated word is different. And in our country, we might say that we love someone after the first date, even though we know that we're not sure if we want to spend the rest of our life with someone. For her, when she says love, she's 110% sure that she's going to be with someone. But I don't think Mike understands that. I think when Mike hears from her that she doesn't love him, he perceives it as, let's say if we had a scale of affection for someone, and at 100% you are completely in love, the most in love you've ever been, and 0 means you have no feelings, you're completely indifferent. And so for him, we could say maybe he will use the word love if he's at like 60%. And she would use the word love if she's at 95%. And so when he hears that she doesn't love him, he thinks, oh, she's like at 30% or 40%. But what she might mean is, I'm at 85%, even though that might be a similar percentage as what he is at. But since his word for love crosses, the line at 60%, he will say the word love. And I wonder what she's going to say here. Now, if she wants to preserve the relationship, what she should say is, honey, in my country, when we use the word love, it means a big deal. And I want to reserve that word for when I am sure that you and I are going to work out. When you ask me if I love you, if you're asking me, do I have affection for you? Do I want to see if things work? Do I want to build to love? Do I think I can build to love? Then the answer is yes. So let's see what she says.
Are we still in love?
It's difficult for me a lot.
We're not in love right now. You often ask me why I don't want to talk about marriage and a wedding right now.
See, now we're back to where we started, where he's going to put up his walls. And we also see the way he even asked the question. Instead of saying something like, honey, I love you, but I don't know if you love me, and I'm terrified that you don't love me. Do you love me? Instead, he's like, are we still in love, in that very cold way? It's like, are we still in love? Very intellectual question. Because when we're hurt and when we're afraid, we will put up those walls, maybe even unknowingly to ourselves, as a way of protecting ourselves. And then the way she answered the question is similar to the way she asked. Now, maybe Doug will be able to step in and say, wait, what's going on here right now? When you say love, what do you mean by love? Okay, let's put aside the word love. Natalie, tell me what your feelings are for him. Maybe if you said what your feelings are for him, maybe that'll clear things up a little bit. Let's get rid of this label of love. Let's talk about what your feelings actually are. So let's see what happens.
It's hard hearing someone say he doesn't love you. I was married for 8 years, but my ex-husband never said that he doesn't love me, ever. It's a new, unexpected what he said to me. I wish I wouldn't hear it. You want me to go home?
So this is unfortunate. They started off so well. I hope Doug now on some level, it's Doug's job to help them communicate. And if they're communicating their true feelings right now, then this is their true feelings. I know a lot of you think this. It's like, why are they even together? And I've thought that too at times. I guess I just always have hope that they can get back to where they were in the beginning, when they first met, when he first got off the plane and they were just all over each other and laughing and having a good time. They just seemed genuinely in love. It was one of the few couples where I actually saw actual affection and love and bonding and preference for each other. And I guess I just always thought they'd be able to get back there. But on the other hand, from Doug's perspective, he's thinking maybe, well, they've just told each other their true feelings, that they don't really love each other. And that's tough to hear. That's tough to absorb. But that's what needs to be said if that's true. But I actually don't think that that's true. I think it's not the full story anyway. So now, on the other hand, you could say they're not really a good match. She wants someone who doesn't drink, who doesn't eat meat, who is a Christian, who doesn't eat butter, who exercises all the time, which is fine. She can want that. And he wants someone who will have a beer with him and eat meat with him, or at least not bother him about that, live and swim with him. She wants to live in the city. There are so many incompatibilities that it's hard to predict that things would work out even if they did have affection for each other, given the amount of incompatibilities they have in their life. So maybe this is for the best, but let's watch.
Honestly, do you feel like we're in love as much as when we first met? Things have changed
No, I
a
don't.
lot. There you go. That's all I want. Communication.
Again, we've heard this conversation before. He's just looking for an affirmation of his deepest fears, which is that this woman doesn't really love me. And I think he's a black and white thinker regarding this. It's not that she has a lot of feelings for him. It's that, okay, she doesn't love me, then it's zero. You know, it's either black or it's white. And we also see the way that he's asking the questions. It's nothing about him. It's only questions about her.
We can never work on anything if
Because you
we
give
can't
me
communicate.
pain.
You
I
give me
cannot-
pain too.
All right, well, that's a breakthrough that both of them admitted that the other person gives them pain. Let's see if we can go in that direction so that they can take care of each other. Does he need to have the Bluetooth thing? Is there a reason? Because he doesn't usually walk around with that thing in his head. I wonder if he needs it for his work or something.
So you had this love, and now you don't feel it as much for each other. How we work with that is we need to uncover what the truth is.
I'm really impressed with Doug. I might even email him. I have his website right here. A lot of therapy is depicted in fictional depictions of movies and TV shows, and there's a fair amount of therapy on this reality TV show. And I have yet to see a good representation of good therapy on this show. And, you know, he's doing really great. He's not doing exactly what I would have done, but he's definitely in the realm of being helpful, the way he phrases things. You see the way he words things. It's, you know, let's rewind that actually, because there's a lot of ways a person watching this could respond and summarize what's happening. But the way he did it is so perfect because he validates them while at the same time as clarifying, helping them to focus on something. He's telling them that they need to focus on what they want and what they need.
What the truth is in each of your hearts, in your relationships, what each of you want and need in your lives, and what you want to do about that.
Yeah, it's a great transition, because for a lot of people who wouldn't know what to do in a situation like that, there's a compulsion to being in that chair of the therapist to try to fix. Try to say, oh, but you can love each other, or hey, instead of just letting things be where they are and just creating a space for them to explore while providing a little bit of focus. What do you need and what do you want? I think Mike's about to tell us.
To hear your voice?
Now,
No, no, definitely later, not just now.
Your ideal world, what happens?
My ideal world? Well, ideal world, I guess, falling in love and getting married,
I think that's about it.
thank you very much.
having some kids, raising a family.
All right, so I'm guessing the session was a full hour and they only showed us a little bit of it, but hopefully they go back. A lot of times in the show, they go to one session and they call that therapy, although I think a lot was accomplished in that one session. But hopefully they do go back. These things usually take a long time. The couples that I've worked with over my career typically come in for years. Maybe not every week. Maybe we transition to every other week, or maybe even every month. But it's one of those things that it just takes time. And sometimes it's just a matter of using therapy as a maintenance tool to your relationship. And oftentimes the progression of therapy goes like this, where in the beginning it's about getting to know each other. That's usually pretty short. And then we set our sights on trying to lower the conflict. And then after the conflict is at a stable level, then we can actually start increasing the affection. I'd love to increase the affection right away, but usually the conflict is getting in the way. And so with this couple, actually, they don't fight that much. So we might actually go through that initial phase pretty quickly and move towards the affection side. I could also see how if they were to open up in therapy, that it would actually increase their conflict when they were at home, because a lot of vulnerability is coming up. But I don't know. Anyway, I hope that they go back for more sessions on or off camera. They could really benefit from it.
Is that with Natalie?
Don't know. I'm done.
All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself and take care of others, because we all deserve it. We really, really do.